Hello from the Flying Reporter. Today I'm talking about cost-sharing flights and how UK regulation around them is going to change. Stay tuned to find out what this means for you, should you often share costs between passengers or use cost-sharing platforms to advertise your flights. The UK regulator, the CAA, has this week posted on its website a document concluding its consultation on cost-sharing flights and indicating how it now intends to change legislation. My aim in this video will be to share facts with you, not opinions. This is a hugely contentious topic and I know views vary. Here I'm just going to talk you through what the changes are going to be. Cost-sharing flights are flights where the pilot or pilots and passengers contribute to the cost of the trip. Regulation of this varies around the world. But here in the UK, as it currently stands, cost-sharing flights have been permitted, but costs can only be shared between the pilot and those on board the aircraft, and the only costs that can be shared are direct costs such as fuel, airfield fees or rental charges. The pilot isn't allowed to profit, but they don't have to pay an equal share at the moment. It's okay as long as they pay something, but technically that something could be as little as £1 or even less. The cost-sharing flights can be advertised at the moment, but the costs can only be split between a maximum of 6 people. Now this whole issue blew up after the death of footballer Emiliano Sala in an aeroplane crash in the English Channel in January 2019. The organiser of that flight, David Henderson, was sentenced to 18 months in jail in November 2021. It prompted a government review and the setting up of a CAA working group to see how grey charter flights can be prevented. There was a public consultation. In a document released this week on the CAA website, the results of that consultation have been revealed, along with some solid indications about how the law will change here in the UK. The CAA says it will become compulsory for passenger declaration forms to be completed and retained for cost-sharing flights. It's expected that these forms will have to be kept safe for 6 months. Having reviewed the consultation responses though, the CAA says that passengers who hold or who have held a pilot's licence will be exempt from this requirement. So if you fly with other flying buddies and you share the cost, no forms are required. If your non-pilot passengers have already completed a form in the 6 months before a flight, they don't need to complete another one, so long as the original form is kept and the new flight details are added to that form. Currently, if the direct cost of the flight is £150, in theory, the pilot can pay just a penny and their passengers pick up the rest. In future, when the new regulation comes into effect, pilots will not be able to get their passengers to pay a greater share of the cost than themselves. So, for example, in future, if the flight costs £150 and there's a pilot and 2 passengers on board, the pilot would have to pay at least £50, a third. They can pay more, but no less. Can you publicise your cost-sharing flights? Well, the UK used to ban advertising of cost-sharing flights, but under EASA, that ban was removed. It led to the emergence of cost-sharing platforms like Wingly and some others. Now the CAA says it will bring forward revised regulation that will restrict advertising. Now that doesn't mean stop it altogether. It will still be acceptable to advertise a flight so long as that flight would be taking place anyway, regardless of whether there's a passenger around to share the cost. The new regulations will prohibit advertising where it results in the passenger or passengers dictating the destination or the date and time of the flight. So basically, you won't be able to post on a cost-sharing platform or on social media that you're a pilot available to take people where they want, when they want. You'll have to be flying on that date to that destination already. As for cost-sharing platforms, the CAA says it does see some benefits with them because when it comes to passenger declaration forms, for example, they'll probably be better at managing that consistently than individual pilots. So it's going to introduce what it says is a UK cost-sharing charter so that cost-sharing platforms can sign up to a code of conduct. Right, common purpose. This had been a thorny subject with pilots. The CAA had proposed that if a cost-share flight is A to B, in other words, it doesn't start and end at the same place, the pilot and their passengers must have a common purpose for that travel. This was supposed to act as a deterrent against those grey charters. An example of a common purpose would be a flight where you and your passengers are going for a day out sightseeing, or perhaps you're going for a nice lunch somewhere. That's great. What wouldn't be a common purpose though would be if you're going to give your friend a lift to an aerodrome to pick up their aeroplane, or collecting them after they've broken down somewhere. Their purpose is different from yours, and so you wouldn't have been able to share the cost of that flight, even though you were doing your friend a favour. The CAA has accepted these concerns. It realises that there is limited benefit to safety by introducing this requirement, and so the common purpose requirement will no longer be in the new regulations. They've dropped it. So there you have it. Some pretty major changes in the pipeline for cost-sharing flights here in the UK. The CAA describes this piece of work that it's just done as a landmark consultation, but it equally admits that there is very little statistical evidence to support the need for these changes in the law. However, it says it is now working with the Department for Transport to develop these changes, which will result in amendments to the UK Air Operations Regulation and Air Navigation Order. Until those amendments are enacted, the cost-sharing rules will remain as they are right now. I hope you found this video a useful summary of the changes that are coming our way here in the UK with cost-sharing flights. Let me know what you think about them in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more general aviation content from the UK. Until next time, fly safely, my friends.